From San Antonio, Texas, home of the Alamo, the Riverwalk, and the World Heritage San Antonio Missions, this is the Exit Planning Coach podcast with John F. Dini. Designed to help advisors who work with business owners, John talks with top professionals in the exit planning field about best practices, marketing tips, and how to be more effective when working with owners. Now, here's John F. Dini.
Welcome, and welcome back to the Exit Planning Coach podcast. Today, we're meeting with Hawley Maclean. Hawley is an accomplished entrepreneur. He's a senior executive. He's a board member on, I've got 9 or 10 organizations here. And he has more than 35 years of success in financial planning, employee benefits, banking, and investment management. He's got a proven ability to develop and implement change management initiatives to effectively manage expansion and business continuity. And welcome, Hawley. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on.
Good. Well, it's a pleasure. And I'm looking down at your board memberships, and there's a bank here, and there's BlackRock here, and a number of other organizations. But the one that I really like is the U.S. Curling Association, my favorite winter sport.
It's a lot of people's favorite winter sport.
Yeah. I think Olympic coverage has. I know their ratings go up every time the Olympics are on. Yes, they beat the daylights out of cross-country skiing, that's for sure.
Well, a lot of people are quite surprised that the largest and fastest growing viewership is Olympic curling. Matter of fact, NBC used to joke that NBC stands for nothing but curling, but
I'd go for that. That would be okay.
But, it's surprisingly very popular here in the United States, and the membership is continually growing, and it's especially picks up around whenever there's a Winter Olympics. So
sure. And I don't have to speak with a Minnesota accent to play, do I?
No, you don't.
Good to know. All right, let's get on with the planning conversation though. What got you started in planning transitions for business owners?
Well, I've always been kind of doing that to one degree or another. I got in the business over 30 years ago, and there was back then, there was a lot of you could cold call and do other things, and I just found out that it was easier. It took almost the same amount of effort to get an appointment with a business owner than a personal appointment with somebody. And once you got that appointment with a business owner, there was certainly a lot more opportunity. And I was always watching, other advisors, and they would always kind of do product first and plan second. They would be out, with their product du jour, and then they come up with a plan on how to support that product. And I always thought it was better to plan first and then find the products to fit the plan. So I was just I didn't know any better, and my managers at the time and trainers just say, just work in the business market and use a plan to kind of come up with a plan first and then go from there. And also a lot of that also I'm a member of the on top of the table member of the $1 Million Roundtable Foundation, and there's a lot of talk about planning and so forth there. And same thing, I was involved in the strategic coach program for a number of years, and so just, planning makes a whole lot more sense. And especially now today with the continually heightened regulatory environment, they want documentation. And so your best documentation of your recommendations is doing a full plan. And so.
Sure. Well, we're totally bought into that. I mean, as just looking at our stuff, we feel, and we mention it in almost every podcast, this statistics from EPI in 2013 and from Price Waterhouse earlier this year that 75% of owners are unhappy a year after they've exited is just an embarrassment to our industry. I mean, we're on a very missionary campaign to fix that, and I think planning is what fixes it.
Yeah, and also it's for, especially in our culture, we are people like the super value meal. You go to McDonald's and it's 1, 2, or 3. People like to have a all-encompassing solution.
Yeah.
And so doing that approach with planning is works a lot better.
And certainly, as we say, we think the unhappy owners are the ones that didn't have enough discussion about what their life was going to be down the road.
Oh, absolutely.
It's it's purpose, it's activity, it's identity. As you well know, working with your clients, the identity of a business owner is so wrapped up in the business. A lot of them are just lost when the business isn't there anymore.
We've told clients in the past, don't sell your business until you find out what you want to do next, at least
Right.
have some foundation or direction of where to go. We kind of take a look at a very comprehensive approach, not only what they're doing right now, but through the transition. And then after they sell their business, are they going to buy another business? Are they going to do charitable work? Are they just going to retire and travel around the world? If you've been working 80 hours a week at your business and then you sell it one day, and now you're hanging out at home doing absolutely nothing, that usually doesn't work very well, and really sometimes can create a lot of seller's remorse a year or two down the road.
Sure.
And even with brand new owners, we will go ahead and our businesses will have business owners that come in and say, okay, I'm thinking of buying this business. And our first question is, well, that's great. How are you going to get out of that business?
Right. Well, and the Silicon Valley guys, when they look at a business plan, they always ask, what is your exit plan? And they're not asking it. They're certainly not asking it because they want the founder to go away. They're asking it because they want to know that you've thought through the scalability and the end game for their investment.
Yeah, it's if the business can stand on its own without the owner having to be there every single day, then it's more valuable and is transferable. If if the business is totally dependent on the owner, then it's not transferable.
Right. Yeah, we run into some of those unsellable businesses. As you know, we have the tool where we do the hours in the day in the planning with the client. And I was just on the phone the other day with a transition we've been working on for a couple of years, father to son, just about done. And we went and we reviewed that. And every time I talk to the dad now, even though he's cut down to a few days a week, I say, and what have you done about those 19.8 hours you can't account for yet? Yeah.
Sure. Yep.
So it's got him looking anyway. Ted, describe your typical first meeting with a client. You get a referral from an attorney or somebody, and they say, tell a business owner, you should probably go talk to Hawley. What's your first meeting going to look like?
Our first meeting is actually a lot of questions. We're probably doing 75, 80% of our conversation is question-based. And that's kind of how we position ourselves on what we do and how we do it, by asking questions. And then, that really helps the business owner to get engaged with us, because we really want to find out, what their objectives are and what they've done so far, and kind of what they need to get done, and what are their goals. And so they want to sell the business. Well, all right, so you sell the business. Well, why do you want to sell the business? And then what do you want to do after that?
What do you think is the most important factor in converting a prospect into a client?
That it's a good fit, that we can certainly bring significant value to the relationship. There are situations where we really don't take on the client, or we manage those expectations and try and get, maybe they aren't ready to sell, or there are just a lot of problems, or some hidden time bombs in the business somewhere, or something like that. And so there are times we'll say, well, why don't you work on this stuff and come back to us and when you've addressed these issues.
So thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely try and do it in a good way. We want to preserve that relationship, and I think they appreciate that also. There's there's a lot of advisors out there that I said, well, as long as they make the sale and get a product sold or something like that, that's
Right.
primary objective.
Right.
So
No, well, you've already just in your last couple comments there, you've touched on two of the things that I say all the time. When you're asking questions, you're coaching.
yeah,
When you're talking, when you're giving advice, you're a consultant. But too many of us start giving advice before we've asked enough questions.
absolutely. And I know I'd see that with new advisors or even experienced advisors that are trying to move into this space. They will spend 98% of their time telling the prospect how much they know and how wonderful they are and why they should do business with them.
Yes, I'm doing a presentation next week, and I've got a question, a trick question. Which of these three things is more likely to make a prospect trust you? One, you can claim to have beaten the market by 2% last year. Two, your estate planning saved your last client 20%. Or three, you're really listening to what he wants.
Let me think about that.
Trick question.
And the first two don't count, the first two answers.
Right. What do you think when you're exit planning for business owners, when you're in the process, what do you think is the biggest challenge for you as an advisor?
Quite frankly, we were just talking about this before we started the podcast, is I think the biggest challenge is the regulatory environment. Not only for the advisors, but for a lot of the businesses as well. And we've had a lot of businesses we worked with over the years that they're just fed up with the regulatory environment or the tax environment, or it's so that really is certainly one of the challenges that we come over. Not that we're by any means trying to recommend things that aren't legal or anything like that. It's just pretty difficult. And I'd say this environment is certainly the oversight on the securities related business is I think the culture is significantly different than like on the banking. I started a bank, and we got about a dozen of us together. We scraped together about $3.5 million, and we over 25 years or so, we grew it to about $1 billion operation.
Wow.
And one of the top banks in the country. And the regulatory environment on the banking side is definitely tough and very strict, but they are a little bit more on, hey, let's kind of figure this out together. And it just, on the investment side, it really is kind of say it's like you're guilty until proven guilty. Yeah. And that's the only option and outcome.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The other thing is, I'd say a challenge is sometimes, especially the small and medium-sized business owners who haven't done much planning. I categorize people into kind of one or two categories, either a results-driven person, and that's what motivates them, or a process-driven person. And one isn't better than the other, but generally I'd say most business owners, entrepreneurs are more results-based. And so and I'm definitely results-based, but it's, we do have a process, and trying to, to coach them and educate them and hold their hand through this process is sometimes is very difficult for a business owner who's, looking at always putting out fires, and to get them to spend some time to make sure this plan is good. And that's one of the things, we tell them over and over again is that communication is very important. You can ask Jill, my partner, I'm horrible reading minds. And so the more you tell me, the better your plan is going to be. This is your plan. This is not our plan.
Right. I'm going to pause for a second for our sponsor identification, and then we'll be right back to continue this.
How would your practice survive if only 25% of your clients were happy with your work? How many referrals would you get? Would you advertise that success rate? Over the last decade, both the Exit Planning Institute and PwC have surveyed owners and found that 75% were profoundly unhappy a year after their exits. In 10 years, the exit planning industry has done little to fix this issue. Business owners need purpose, direction, and activity after exiting. Planning for that starts with your very first coaching conversation. We work with advisors who believe that clients should be happy after exiting. ExitMap is a structured discovery process that helps you have deeper conversations about client options, objectives, and life after the business. We help you launch better transitions. Take a test drive at exitmap.com.
Okay, we're back with Hawley Maclean. Hawley, other advisors, as we know from our surveys, other professionals are the single biggest source of referrals. What would you say you specialize in? If I was, say, an attorney or a CPA, and I was looking to put people on the team for a plan for a business owner, what would we call you for?
Well, for a couple of different reasons, I would say we help business owners grow their business by protecting the assets they have invested in their business, by having them be more profitable, by paying less in taxes, and helping them address management, succession, and estate planning issues. But that's a pretty wide net.
Yeah, that sounds like you compete with everybody.
So, well, what we try and position ourselves is that we really aren't competing with really anybody of their advisors. We say you need to have a team of professional advisors. You have your attorney, your CPA, your maybe your TPA, your investment guy, and whatever. But guess what? You are still the one left to design the whole thing, to pull it all together. And you are the one responsible for knowing all of the right questions to ask all these people.
Mm-hmm.
And we say that's what our job is. We have, it takes a team approach, and we have no problem working with other members of your team. And we will be the first to let you know that, hey, these guys are, you have a good person here, or you have somebody that's you might have outgrown their capabilities, and we can refer you to some other people.
Do you have a best referral source, a class of other professional that is calling you on a regular basis?
We do get referrals, but most of them come from other clients, and also from just networking.
Mm-hmm.
We have some relationships with some great estate planning attorneys, and they'll go, well, I'm afraid to refer anything to anybody, because then, because I work with all advisors, and so they might get upset if I refer something. So okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of that,
and quite frankly, there's a lot of professions that aren't very good at referring. There's also a lot of hesitant. I'd say the trend has been for more professional advisors to be more leery about referring their clients to other advisors.
You think so?
Yeah, at least maybe in our markets or whatever, but they're concerned about, if something doesn't go wrong, or something goes wrong or whatever, then that reflects back on me. Or whatever.
Sure, there's got to be trust in any referral.
So and we do have great relationships with our other professional advisors. But
speaking, when you talk about trends, I mean, clearly one of the trends is advisors in all different professions getting into business exit planning. We all know the tidal wave, what the numbers look like. We've got half of the business owners in the United States are now 56 going on 57 or older. And so a lot of people are adding exit planning to their skill set. What would be your recommendation to somebody that's from any profession, an attorney, a CPA, a financial planner, wealth manager, that says, I want to get into exit planning?
I'd say, don't try this at home.
Great.
I would say is to really try and team up with an experienced advisor that has done this for a while, and that's probably would be the most important thing. And we, I've always done joint work. We do a lot of succession planning with other advisors that come in and work with us. And it number one, it helps. I think you end up with a higher level of trust with the client, saying, "Hey, here's somebody that really knows what yeah, I'm a general practitioner. I'm going to send you over to a specialist," but it also dramatically increases your learning curve if you're sitting through the meetings and processes with other advisors that have done this for a while. You can really speed up that learning curve on how to get into the succession planning. And I would say, boy, we in our office we have a team, and I have Dan Springer, who's very good, and he does all of our actual number crunching and the planning and so forth. And I kind of stay on the strategic level. But we joke. We said, "Geez, since we got into this heavily the last several years, we really need to remove the conference room table and put in a couple of couches, because it's really more like we literally probably spend 80% of the time just talking through their challenges and goals and figuring all that stuff out. The actual number crunching and planning and all that, that still takes time, but that's more kind of behind the scenes time. And that's one of the things we found is unless you're specializing in doing succession planning for CPAs or engineers, most business owners, you lose them if you're spending your whole time in charts and graphs and
absolutely,
things like that. And
it's a little tough, as you said earlier, to talk process to somebody whose whole life has been ready, fire, aim.
And it's kind of funny. We kind of joke is that we're kind of like almost like a translator. An attorney will come in and say, "Well, you need to do irrevocable trust, you need to do this and that," and and the client's eyes will get kind of glazed over, and they'll look at us, and I'll say, "Basically, what you're saying is you need to do an estate plan." Oh, okay.
Right. As we wind up here, I just want to talk about your other business, because we were talking about it before we got on, and that's fascinating.
Before we jump there, I think there'd be one thing that would be good on, this is being presented mostly for other advisors.
Please.
Is that our fees are anywhere from $40,000 to $100,000 a year for a business succession planning client. And we get a lot of pushback or questions from other advisors. It's like, "Oh my God, how are you able to position that?" And I said, well, it's basically through our processes, we uncover all the things that the business owner wants to get done. They want to get, they want to pay less in taxes. They want to make sure their insurance is all good. They want to make sure that the business is transferred, at its highest and best value. So we come up with a list of probably at least a dozen or more items that they would like to get done. And we'll tell them, I go, "Okay, is there anybody on your team right now, advisors, attorneys, CPAs, or employees, or you, that's going to get all this done over the next year or two?" 99% of the time, the answer is no. I go, "Well, the good news is we can basically get all that stuff done based on your timeline. And we will get it done by that point in time, we've had a pretty good idea of what their salary range is. And with a smaller company and they don't have a CFO or something like that, we'll say, we can go ahead and work with you for the year, and it will be less than what you are probably paying your lowest paid employee. So if we're cheaper than what you're paying your front desk person, we can go ahead and get all that stuff done and worked on and processed over the next year."
Wow, that's a great approach.
And if they have a CFO that's making 150 or 200,000, obviously we base our fees based on how much work we think we're going to need and the other
Uh-huh.
advisors we need to bring in. But I said, you're paying your CFO $250,000 a year. And are they going to get any of this stuff done? And they go, no, they don't even, they don't have time to do that. And I said, all right, well, for, 10 grand a month, we're going to get all that stuff done for you. Is that worth it? And they go, absolutely. So.
Oh, great tip. Great tip. Thank you. The other business.
Yes.
How did you get involved in that?
Which other business?
The one you just came back from Scotland with.
Yeah, that. So we, gosh, my dad was born in 1916. He passed away several years ago, and he loved to travel, and he was always taking friends and family on trips all over the world and doing neat and cool things, and kind of grew up with that, and that was really a lot of fun. And so starting out, I always had people asking, hey, where's a good place to go? And then it kind of transitioned to hey, can you plan out a trip? And then moved into, can you go on a trip with us? And so we have a Maclean Adventures, and it was kind of funny because I had a marketing guy at the time, Will, and he was very good. And he came in and said, yeah, one day, he said, you know what, you're spending between my salary and marketing and events and things like that, and client appreciation and so forth, you're spending over $100 grand a year on this, and there's great name recognition or anything, but you hardly ever convert a client from one of these things. I go, oh, so you're telling me I should fire you? And he said, no. And he said, let me go ahead and do some, let me kind of survey all, your top 100 clients or so. And so he came back and he said, your top 100 clients are very similar to the things that you do. They like to travel, they like wine, they like food. Most of them are business owners. A lot of them like trains. And so he said, why don't you, drop all this marketing stuff that you're doing, which, everybody already knows who you are in town. So, and let's, really make this into a travel business. And so we started doing that, and it actually works really well, because about half the clients that go on these tours that we take them around the world are clients of ours, and the other half are generally business owners or people that are retired, or but certainly have a discretionary cash flow where they can spend $10,000-$15,000 a piece to go on a trip for a couple of weeks. Those are kind of people that are in our target market. And so those people get to go on the trips with our clients, and our clients talk about how they work with us. And so not only do we get to spend really quality time with our top clients, but we also get to meet really good new prospects as well. And so we normally try and do 2 or 3 tours a year. And this year, because of COVID, we're doing them back to back to back, because the last couple of years all got rolled into this year.
Now, are these bespoke? I mean, do you design one and then put it out there, or do you have set tours that you do on a regular basis?
Most of these are kind of semi-custom. We like our Switzerland tour that we do every September. That one we keep repeating because everybody just absolutely loves it. And in fact, we've had people that lived in Switzerland for 20 years and have gone on our trips, and they go, oh my God, I never saw Switzerland like this, and just loved it. So that one we kind of repeat each year. Other ones we have a following. We probably have at least over a dozen people that have gone on every single tour that we've done every single year for 30 years.
Wow.
And they just keep loving it. And so we get input on where we want to go. We have a group that wants us to put together a trip to a barge trip, wine tasting through France. Obviously the Switzerland trip. We have some interest in doing tour of Spain. I've quite a few people Then we put together something for Antarctica. And so these are summertime trips as well as wintertime for skiing and things like that. And we try and we try and find really unique experiences. There's small groups, 10 to 20 people at the most, and we host each of them. So we go on all the tours, and it really ends up being a great time. The group that we just took to Scotland, a lot of them, most of them have traveled extensively throughout the world, and they came, we had comments that, oh my God, this was the best trip we've ever done. And it was really, really neat to build those relationships.
Great. Wow, that's neat. And maybe
that's definitely my separate business, has nothing to do with investments.
Yeah, I know, but it's great
regulatory folks out there. Yeah. And that's not a client testimonial.
Okay, well, and that's, Maclean Financial Group, MACLEAN, is MacleanFinancialGroup.com is where you can find Hawley's advisory business. And then MacleanAdventures.com
Yep.
is the travel business. If you want to go to, where was it, the North Pole you went to already this year?
Yeah, we're up above the Arctic Circle, doing fishing at a place called Great Bear Lake, home of almost all of the freshwater world record fishing. Just amazing up there.
Well, okay, Maclean Financial Group and MacleanAdventures.com. And Hawley, it's been a great pleasure, and I hope we get to do this again at some point down the road.
Absolutely.
And thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for your time.
I'll talk to you soon.